Mr. Kofi Asare is Executive Director, Education Watch Africa. Good morning to you. Thank you for your time again here on the AM show.
Hello, good morning, and good morning to your cherished audience.
Okay, great. We've played back some videos, some final year students of some of the schools reacting to the fact that they didn't see some past questions that they have solved that they were expecting to see in the examination hall, showing their disappointment and saying they will not vote for the president. I don't want us to get into the politics of it, but just the fact that these students were expecting solved questions, that is raising a lot of concerns. What's your reaction to what we've seen?
Yeah, it's quite disturbing gauging the expectation of students as they approach examination. The lots of videos I have seen gives an indication that some students were expecting to go and meet questions that they found in the past questions which the genius procured for them at the examination centers. It looks as if the strategy by genius to spend about 400,000 Ghana cedis to procure and compile past questions of WAEC for the students to aid in their preparation for the examination may have backfired, in the sense that it is the first time we are seeing such an initiative, and where the documents are presented in the form of a textbook, which compiled like a textbook to the students. It gives the student an impression that there's something more to it than just past questions, more so within the context of this politically charged topic of a free senior high school, and how politicians are struggling to make a meaning out of the first result or the first batch, which will appear before elections. Let me also indicate that the intention behind buying past questions for the students was not a bad one, just to ensure that the teachers have the aid they require to prepare the students ahead of the examination. It's not a bad one. But in policy, sometimes you can have unintended outcomes. And so I see that unintended outcomes of the administrative decision to procure past questions for the students has become one that is limiting all their learning, perhaps, towards those questions. And so the students are now learning they are now learning for an examination and learning for questions. They are learning questions instead of actually learning the subjects and educating themselves. And that's a challenge that I think the past questions, which were well intended, is breeding.
But what's different from this past questions? We've always, unless you didn't write exam in this country, we've seen past questions come and go. There are always photocopies of it. We've all gone through past questions, but I'm not sure, does somebody assure this batch in particular? Because some of them seem to be heavily reliant on the past questions.
When you are a student in school and you hear political discussions in the media, on social media, that the justification or the indicator of quality of the free senior high school program will be the result of the first batch. If you hear that discourse and you hear the overly extreme political attempts to try and use the results to justify or denigrate the policy and its efficiency on the quality scale, you are likely to become, in a way, relaxed, because you will think that if my performance means so much to the government in power, the government in power will do everything possible to ensure that I pass. Apart from that, if at the back of that context, the government in power or the Ghana Education Service, for the first time in its history, compiles past questions into textbooks and hands them over to every student preparing for the examination to use it to prepare, there is definitely, a psyche that will emerge from that action. And that is why I'm saying that even though we may have had access to past questions in times past, even though teachers may have used past questions to prepare students for examination in time past, what we experienced last year in September or so wasn't similar to this. This was a government decision to ensure that every finalist has a compendium of past questions put together in the form of a textbook. And so it was not just the ordinary past questions that you would go and procure yourself and review. And so it has had an effect on the learning of the students. And the thinking has been, I am tempted to believe, that there's something more to this pamphlet than just past questions. That's why the students were holding the document and then cursing the document. That the document is being the cause of their failure. And I don't think they are wrong. They are right, because they actually concentrated their preparation in those questions in the past questions that were compiled for them.
So who has failed them?
Well, as I mentioned, a policy decision meant to strengthen or enhance the quality of the preparation toward examination is looking as if it is actually causing them to be fixated on learning questions rather than learning the subjects. And so if it is established that on the account of the students' over-reliance on past questions given to them by government, they came to the examination room unprepared, as may be the case, and I'm sure it will be captured in the chief examiner's report, then it may mean that an administrative policy of the GES contributed significantly in ensuring that even though they wanted students to prepare adequately, it backfired and ended up constricting the scope of their preparation and then limiting them towards certain examination questions for which they may have not performed as expected.
Should the examination regulating body WASSCE be concerned about this?
Well, WASSCE hasn't any policy that bars students and teachers from using their past questions to prepare their students. Actually, in addition to past questions, people actually assess examiners' reports and also the marking scheme. All these are available to enable you shape your students ahead of examination. And so, as an examiner, as an assessment body, they are normally concerned about how students are prepared to sit for the examination, and then also the professionalism that occasions the writing of their papers, during the examination. And so I don't think this is a matter for WASSCE. For WASSCE, they may be concerned that teachers are limiting students or teachers are supporting students to focus on the past questions. And so I will ask teachers to, between now, the examination have just started. It will end on 5th September. Teachers will have to concentrate more on trying to expand the scope of the learning of students and then try to use this case study to convince the students that what they have there are just past questions. There are no questions that government has any idea of whether they are coming or not. And it's not government's business to give them questions to pass. The government's business is to create an element environment for them to learn and pass. And so they should not focus their learning on the past questions, but then focus their learning on how to answer questions. Not those past questions, but how to answer questions in the next 5 weeks of the examination that we are to cross.
I'm tempted to ask. Yeah, I'm tempted.
It should, migrate the mindset of the student from the fixation towards the questions in that document to a more broader learning process where they will focus their energy on approaches in answering questions than the answering of specific questions that are contained in that pamphlet or textbook.
I'm sure you've also been following what's been unfolding at the Trinidad secondary school in the Ashanti region, with students protesting because they thought the headmaster was strict on them with the examination. But we've also heard how at least a student wanted to visit the washroom and was not allowed, resulting in that student urinating on herself in the examination. How is the invigilation supposed to be like? Are students justifying in saying that a headmaster, for instance, is is strict?
I think those comments are manifestations of the indiscipline on our campuses. The indiscipline on our campuses have gone from bad to worse. Since the free senior school was introduced, we have seen students have felt were pampered, and most teachers, have suffered for certain actions that, they should have been reprimanded for. If you look at the issue that happened at KNUST, teachers were interdicted for doing exactly what the genius asked them to do when there's a suspected case of COVID. They called the district COVID-19 number. That's what they told them to do. The school had no sick bay, no nurse. It's not the fault of the teacher. But when someone died in that process, then to please or to appease the students who agitated, then you interdict the headmistress and the teachers. It's not right. When such actions are seen to be taken by authorities, in support of students, you embolden students to be more indisciplined. Because the action, what took place at Chinua is totally unacceptable. The headmaster has a duty to ensure that examination takes place according to the rules and regulations of WASSCE. And so if WASSCE is saying that you have to distance the students, no talking, you cannot take any foreign material inside, these are fundamentals that the headmaster is enforcing. And don't forget that the headmaster is not the chief invigilator in the room. WASSCE sends their invigilators to the room to invigilate. And so the headmaster cannot be blamed for not allowing you to do what you're supposed to do. He is supposed to ensure that you do what WASSCE says you do, and don't do what WASSCE says don't do, so that his school will not be cited for a case of malpractice, which will go against his credibility and the school's credibility.
It's interesting.
The headmaster has no right, or no teacher has any right, to prevent any child from visiting the washroom during examination. It is not part of the rules of WASSCE to prevent people from visiting the washroom. In most instances, you have cases where invigilators will accompany you, or they will be monitoring your movement as you move out to the washroom. But there is no rule that prevents or that emboldens invigilators or headmasters or teachers from allowing students to visit the washroom when there's an examination. That if that really happened, we will expect the chief examiner, the report of that school, to capture that situation. It shouldn't happen at all. It is not proper.
We also have on record my colleague in Kumasi who followed up on this story, Nanaya Ojima, also engaged one of the students who said, well, whilst they were protesting, other students were writing. So they got the opportunity to see the paper and they solved it before they started their exam. So this 2.5-hour paper, they used about an hour and a half to finish it. This is a student's confession, even though it's on the basis of anonymity. What should happen going forward?
Well, going forward, as I mentioned, the teachers have a key role to play in this. The teachers will have to cite the students up and let them understand that those past questions that were served to them by the genius are not questions that will come. In fact, it will never happen that they will even emerge. It will never happen.
Oh, but at least you'll see one Pasco in the, they might repeat a certain question. It's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. But when teachers are teaching you preparation for examination, they will always tell you that we are teaching you how to approach solving examination questions, and not necessarily how to approach solving these questions that you are seeing before you. The whole idea of using past questions to teach the students to ensure that the students have a feel of what the questions look like and the approach that the examiners expect the students to adapt in answering them. And that's why it always comes with the marking scheme and then the chief examiner's report. And so if that contextual understanding of past questions is not appreciated fully by the students, and the students see the past questions as possible questions that will come or questions that may come, then the students are being misled. Then the past questions are rather becoming an instrument of diversion of study, of the attention of study, than an instrument that should aid them in their study. And so please, teachers, you are the only ones who can help the students as at now. The past questions have already been procured for them by government since last year, September. It's been with them for a long time. During the pandemic, they took them home, and all they had with them was these questions. And so we know they've learned it into two. But teachers, since you are the ones who can interface with the students on a daily basis between now and September 5, when the exams will end, The only thing you can do is to try and convince the students and let them appreciate that. Using the case study of the first integrated science paper, these questions are not questions. They are not even probable questions. They are only prototypes of what the structure of a question may appear like. And so focus on the approach in answering the questions and not the questions themselves, because the questions will not appear in any paper. Not when the issue has become a political or a politicized subject matter. A very, very unfortunate one. When you have the results of an impending examination so politicized, the students themselves either feel nervous or they feel very, very laxic, that they know that whatever the case, everything will be done to ensure that they pass.
Yeah.
And so it's unfortunate that we have politicized the outcome. I keep saying that there's no scientific basis for comparing the results of WASSCE 2020 to the result of WASSCE 2010. It doesn't make any scientific sense. It doesn't make any education policy sense. It only makes for propaganda political sense, in the sense that the two papers will come with different stress levels. You cannot assess them over time. Examinations come with different stress levels. Secondly, the environment within which the examinations are being written are different. One is being written in a pandemic situation. The other was written in a no pandemic situation. And also, apart from that, the marking scheme to a high extent depends on the performance, general performance. If the general performance is low, you may get an A with 70. If the general performance is high, you may not get an A with 80. And so there is no basis for comparing results over time, whether it's WASSCE or BEC.
Yeah.
So the politicians should lead the students to focus on their education, learn and then pass, and then stop the discussions and then the discussions around the extent to which the result of the first batch of the WASSCE free senior school students will be the denominator of quality, of that program. That discussion should cease immediately. Our children are at the receiving end of it, and it will not benefit them in any way.
Brilliant analysis there you make. Unfortunately, it's an election year. We just got a few months. And so the outcome of this examination will certainly matter to the politician. We're grateful for your time, though. Kofi Asare is Executive Director, Africa Education Watch. Thank you very much for your time on this conversation. Let's switch now and go to the Institute for Education Studies, where Peter Anti is joining with his own perspective of what's been unfolding as well. Mr. Anti, good morning. If you can hear me, thank you for your time. Okay. Peter Anti? Well, we'll get his perspective on this matter. In the meantime, maybe just some 5 minutes. Let's get talking, because we've all been witnesses to what's been happening. So you can give me a quick call on 0302-211-6910, 0302-211-6910. What do you think about this matter that's unfolding? Do you have a child who's writing this examination? Kofi Asare has shared a lot. If your child is dependent on the past questions because it was given to them and they've solved all the questions, how do you in turn change in their mindset, telling them that it's your approach to the examination, not necessarily the questions in the past, that booklet that's been given to you that you see in the examination hall? If you're parents, would love to hear from you, so you can give us a call on 0302-211-6910 on this unfolding matter. John is joining us. Good morning, John. Hello, John.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, John. John, where are you calling us from?
Yeah, from Cape Coast.
Okay, great. Let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it's unfortunate this thing has happened. But I'll just link it up to the this agitation is caused by the politician. Because as usual, normally when you are going to write exams, you don't have this tense atmosphere. Now the government in power is now trying to prove a point that this is this is going to serve as a catalyst, or is going to serve as a basis of the free education implementation if the student passes. And the opposition will also want to use it as that because the free education lack quality, children were not able to pass. So I'm not sure So NDC might have now also set up a committee to investigate if any report comes, they will get it. So it is going to affect the children. How on earth do you come and compile past questions for students to learn? How on earth the president will have to come out and say that the end of the exam is going to justify whether the free education is quality or poor? Me, I'm not even convinced. What I'm seeing is, even after the exams, the marking scheme alone will determine whether the children will pass or not. So whether the children should come down, because for this one free education, I tell you, they are going to use it to prove a point, and the children will pass. Even if they are not able to write, at the end of the marking scheme, they will still pass.
Okay,
so they should come down.
That's an allegation because to be fair, John, WAEC is not government, so let's not get in there. I see the point that you're trying to make. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, John. Let's go to Benjamin. Benjamin Techi is in Brekum. Benjamin, good morning.
Good morning, Mamazi.
Good morning, Benjamin. You're good?
By the grace of God, I'm fine.
Nice.
I would like to also come in and put my input across.
Oh, please do. We appreciate it. Let's hear you.
Very good. It's like, Mamazi, my problem is that what was the reason of the compilation of the questions? Because talking about the free senior high or this type of people, their section was different from the other people, those that have already been written their exams. So I see no reason why the government of the day or the Minister of Education and that, for that matter, GS will come out with such questions, give it to them so that they will solve them. What was the reason? Because all along, it's a matter of learning to write exams and also get the general overview of education, not purposely for examination purpose. So, in fact, I see that it's very unfortunate. I'm talking about what is happening, about a case going rampage here and there, destroying things here and there, talking bad about the president himself, talking about that of their headmasters and the invigilators under them. I think it is as a result of the so-called third right. Because how on earth will a candidate tell the invigilators and the headmaster that, why do you have to be so strict on us? You did not allow us to teach. It's very unfortunate. Where are we heading to, Mamazi?
All right.
I don't think we are safe, because it's very unfortunate. And this is it talks of the recalcitrant nature of the students we are producing these days, and we have to be very, very careful. Else, I don't know, because it shouldn't be, and we have to condemn the act, and those things must also be punished. But you know what? These days, it looks as if nobody should punish a student. You can't do anything. So what they are doing is as a result of a third right issue. You can't talk about it. You can't cane them. You can't punish them. You can't do anything. And look at what is happening. No more students are coming out with such, with my words, silly statements about our
Benjamin, I feel your sentiment. You're a parent. I feel the anger. Just to say that, you know, the fact that a child has rights doesn't mean that they can be indisciplined. So I wish to state that we can distinguish the two. But I feel the point that you're making. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, let's move to Collins. Collins is joining us from Donkokrom. Collins, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, Collins, let's hear you.
All right, thank you very much. As Mr. Asare, the Executive Director, rightly said, you see, what is happening is as a result of what is happening in school. Indiscipline level has increased because of right.
Oh, you also hold that belief, eh?
Sorry.
I was just asking if you also hold that belief. You don't think that the rights is distinguished from indiscipline? The two can't go together.
Yes, it can go together, but we are not, how do you call it? We are not doing it well. Because if we did the right and still we on discipline, I believe this wouldn't be happening. And for the compilation of the questions, as the man rightly said, it's one, limit students from learning. And then also on the part of the government, they were just trying to help them so that for the stay at home because of this COVID-19 cases, they would get something to do, or they would, how do you call it, the learning would run fast. But nobody knows why it is happening this way. So as a parent, we should also be talking to our children, not teachers alone. The man was saying that teachers have the upper hand on students, but here is the case, these students don't give any respect to teachers. Parents should also come in. It should be all of us are concerned that our children are, one, well-disciplined in all aspects, and two, take simple instructions. When you get to classroom, you would realize that students don't take simple instructions. Sit here, he said, I want to day. Stand here, he said, I want to day. So it goes back to all of us. They are our children, and this is our future. So if we can bring them up well, I believe in the next 10 years, we would not see things that we are seeing now.
All right.
If we should not do our part as parents and teachers and as government, believe me, in the next 10 years, what is happening will be worse.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Collins. Let's talk to Michael, my last call. Good morning, Michael. Hello, Michael.
Yes, Mama V, good morning.
Good morning, Michael. Please, you're on air. Let's hear you.
Yeah, I just want to contribute to the program. I think what's happening in the secondary schools is just unfortunate. We have students, like my counterparts mentioned, that you cannot discipline them. Now, you see what is happening, we are aware that some of these headmasters have been threatened and they've been asked to allow the children to pass at all costs. You see memos, and then just even hearing what the president is saying, calling the students Akufo-Addo graduates. All these things, the children have in their minds that they are going to pass. So if you overpamper these children, this is what we are going to get. If teachers will be intimidated because they are following the rules and regulations, then it means that we allow them or we teach them revolutionary ideas. Is that what the country will want to go? It's just unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate that this morning we are waking up and then hearing teachers being heckled for trying to ensure discipline. And if you go to the WASSCE regulations, 30 minutes into the paper, you can't go out. And 30 minutes to the end of the paper, you can't go out. And so if a teacher is given all this and then he follows that, I don't see why he should be punished. But the headmaster slapping a teacher, he's only lucky that he's doing that over there. It cannot happen in certain schools. It's unfortunate. Thank you, Mama B.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you all for contributing to this very important subject. And of course, if you have a child writing the exam, we hope that this conversation has opened up your mind a bit about what to do to help that child going forward so that they are not overly dependent on that past questions.